Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. For a very long time, we have been hearing Government of India trying its level best to get a permanent seat in the Security Council of UN. And the only purpose is that then it will have a right to veto any resolution that comes in conflict with its interest. Nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, all the five who have the veto power use it, abuse it, and we have seen China using it to protect even the terrorists. So if the government of India wants that, there's nothing wrong with that. But is it really relevant? The biggest talking shop of the world is the UN General Assembly. The world leaders gather to make their cases to the world. Some sensibilities are uttered, but mostly it is stupidities, inanities, or generalities which have no meaning. One person's truth is another person's falsehood. And India has always been the butt of the biased, interested parties, whether they are at times Pakistan and China always there, but at times even USA combines with them. There have been cases when many countries condemned India except Russia for once. Russia has been the shield all the time. So, what India thought was that Russia is the only helper, so why should we not have? We are now having economic clout. We are the largest country in the world as far as the population is concerned. So it asks for expansion of the Security Council. And in expansion, naturally, it has a claim towards the permanent representation. 2 years back, Narendra Modi said that India was losing patience with the process. But this even complained that India is losing patience. Did it bring any positive result? No. Just recently, US endorsed India, Japan and Germany as permanent members of the UN, of the Council. But this is not the first time US has done so. Before that, UK, France, Russia have all supported India. But China says veto. The truth is self-evident. Now make it clear to yourself. The truth is so evident that the government of India fails to see it. None of the five major members, the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, that is USA or Russia, China or France or England, wanted to expand. All this talk of expansion is a hogwash, is just an attempt to mislead and cheat. Because the moment it's expanded, their power will be diluted. And so would their hegemony over the world. They have the power of saying no to any resolution. So why should they add other persons and divide their powers? The USA, UK, France and Russia, all four of them are aware, very well aware, that China will veto India and Japan. Japan is China's eternal enemy since the history started. And India is its enemy since 1960s. So China having the veto power will always say no to India and China. So if China is going to say no to India, what's the harm in sponsoring India and China? Because India and Japan. So why not get the good marks and be the good graces of India? And India is a huge market. Why lose it? So they are safe in supporting India and Japan, fully realizing that their candidacy is not going anywhere. Germany doesn't meet opposition from any one of the P5. But there is another issue. Already United Nations Security Council is too white, except China, other white countries. And some of them are absolutely nincompoops, have no say at all. And Germany is a white country. So Germany itself, by itself, cannot become a member. Then they make a case for South Africa and Brazil. And if one of them gets in, can India be refused? No. So it's a game of ring-a-ring roses. India covets, desires a veto-wielding UN Security Council permanent seat because it has no one on Security Council to veto any motion against it. In the past, Russia was a reliable friend and India used to pay back. But now there are some fissures. Russia is not as dependable as it was. And India should not forget that even if it was well-meaning, Modi's advice that this is not an era of war, Russians are very sensitive to it. And Russia, next time something happens, is not going to veto. So, India now publicly joining the West would be a problem. India now cannot expect Russia's veto support in totality because it has made one foxtrot. It should have been said in private, anything. But to say it openly hurts the image. And as I said, Russians are extremely sensitive. President Xi talked the same thing to Putin, but it was done in private. However, Putin said that we will take the view of China in consideration. So if Mr. Modi had said the same thing privately, and then the Russians might not have bothered, but the way it was played up by the Western media and the Western governments hurt Russia. Now, since we cannot depend on Russia's veto support in totality, what do? Relations with USA have also been opportunistic. Let's be very clear. Both countries are friendly with each other not because of so-called democratic tie-up or multicultural. No. They are because of need. India sells software to USA and buys arms from USA. Indian students subsidize American university to the extent of about 45%. So, and both these countries are trying to top off this tripod by China containment strategy. So there are three reasons, or rather primarily two: economic and anti-China. And then look at it. USA has made it clear that it will send army to defend Taiwan if China was to invade Taiwan. But China says it's holding any conflict with Taiwan in abeyance till 2070. And the US economy is heavily dependent on manufacturing in China. As a matter of fact, if I was in a mood to be humorous, I'll say US is addicted to getting these things manufactured in China. So war is not expected for years between China and USA. And USA and India can have all the military exercises, but they don't matter much. Military exercises have no meaning because they are only an expression. It can be argued that a war between China and India is more likely than a war between India and USA. A war between China and USA will happen only on Taiwan. USA would never commit its army to India if India fights China. At the most, India can expect to get the Ukraine treatment arms, money, no troops. So none of the countries, USA, France, UK, can be reliably expected to veto a UN Security Council motion against India. China is sure to veto any pro-Indian and any Pakistani motion, say on Kashmir. But today India is no more really supporting it. That's true. It's a dangerous position. So India thinks the way out is to have a veto power. Now, it has done enough. I agree. India deserves a permanency. It is one of the largest contributors of troops to the UN keeping forces, peacekeeping. It has supplied the third world with inordinate number of COVID vaccines. It has become the pharmacy and software house of the world. It has a glittering diaspora. But it doesn't impact the five big permanent members. So frustrated, India has started cozying up. It has joined the Quad Alliance, US, Australia, India, and Japan. It has joined I2U2 Alliance. I2 is India and Israel. U is USA and UAE. These quads are anti-China and anti-Iran. Frankly, India is not anti-Iran. Actually, it needs to strengthen its relations with anti-Iran. It seems to have joined I2U2 just to please USA. And to please China, India joined the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is sponsored by China and is patently anti-US. So India is playing a game on the both sides. And ultimately such games are very harmful because nobody is going to trust you. You are losing the confidence of both the groups. Now look at the another side. India is a part of G20 and is invited to take part in G7. Now how ridiculous. It's the fifth largest economy, but it's not a member of G7, while Canada and France are. Germany is. And they are much smaller economies than India. I fail to understand that India should refuse to accept that invitation. An invitation from G7 is not going to forthcome to join. They might ask you to become an observer. And China, the world's largest economy, and India, both are not going to be permanent members. Now, India may like to hear it, but it faces color prejudice from the many of the same countries it considers to be its friends. Frankly, what should be natural is that India should be given a permanent seat. So what should it do? Stop hankering after it. Be strong as you are economically. You are becoming strong militarily. And when you are strong, word will automatically come to you. They'll offer to you. Don't be a beggar. Till now, you have been begging for a seat. Sometime under the plea of being a large population. Sometime under the plea that Security Council needs reorientation, reorganization. And then another thing, why are we forgetting? UN is losing its all relevance. And that's why many separate smaller groups are coming up. SCO, U, Quad, 1, 2, 2U, 2 I's, 2 U's, and so on. Frankly, India should not be bothered about the veto in the UNO by the foreign powers. For the last 75 years, resolutions have been coming against India, vetoed by Russia. This time it may not be vetoed. But would Pakistan benefit from it? No. And don't forget, this time Pakistan wanted to raise Kashmir issue in SCO and China told it not to do it. So quite possible if India assumes a level don't care, go to hell. China and USA would say, why talk about it? 75 years have passed. Kashmir is an integral part of India. Let's keep quiet. And Pakistan is very weak. It will take at least 2 decades for Pakistan to set itself on the right footing. And by that time, India will have become a global superpower. And then India won't have to beg for the sea. UNO will come running to it and offer it on a platter. That should be the situation. As I said, don't be a beggar. Take it as a matter of right, and time is not far off. Don't be impatient. So stop hankering, and you would see, once you are economically and militarily strong, they'll offer it to you. And that's what you should want. Let India wake up to the reality. Let it not go ahead with a begging bowl to be admitted as a permanent member. No, it's not required, at least not in this irrelevant organization. Thank you.